A mysterious Soviet document on psychokinesis and human energy was translated at the request of the U.S. Air Force's Foreign Technology Division in 1978 to be distributed within American agencies. Declassified on May 17th of 2002, this paper makes some terrifying claims on what human beings are truly capable of and the possible mechanics of psychokinesis. The front page of the document bears the insignia of U.S. Air Force Systems Command and Foreign Technology Division, and the title is The Magic Crystal by G. Sergeyev, who was a scientist out of a Soviet military laboratory, also trained in neurophysiology. What he was most famous for, though, was developing a groundbreaking device, a machine that could detect electrostatic and magnetic biological fields up to 12 feet away from an individual without making direct contact with their bodies. One of Sergeyev's most famous subjects to be studied with this device was the legendary Nina Mikhailova, also known as Nina Kuligina, a Russian woman with psychokinetic powers so strong that she could stop a frog's heart at will and move various objects with her mind. Nina's powers were truly bone-chilling, and I will most likely do a video on her in the near future. The Soviet Union's interest in psychokinetics, the ability of the mind to influence matter, energy, and living organisms, has long been shrouded in secrecy, and it should be of no surprise to anyone here that the machines designed by Sergeyev mentioned in this document have never surfaced as far as I know and are still classified by the military. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union invested heavily in the research of psychokinetics for application in espionage and military operations. Their interest was driven by the belief that psychic abilities could be harnessed to gain strategic advantage over the United States. I've heard all sorts of budget numbers ranging from 20 million to 500 million a year. Hard to tell with black budget money, especially in closed societies such as the Soviet Union was at the time. We do know, though, that they claimed to have been experimenting with ESP long before we were doing it here in the West. And all of this research is thought to have been presided over by the KGB and the Soviet military. Declassified papers such as the one we're about to get into here in this video have shed some light on the experiments behind the Iron Curtain, and some of it is pretty shocking even by today's standard. As usual, I've picked out some of the more interesting sections of the document, and I'll read through some of them right now. Are evidence of the fact that the brain is capable of creating the effect of superconductivity or a space tunnel effect analogous to electromagnetic phenomena in radio engineering. Some individuals are able to control this process at will to create a channel with an intense concentrated biofield in the space between themselves and the object which they wish to influence. In some cases, even microscopic bursts of ball lightning develop in such channels. The effect of these tiny clusters of electron plasma is analogous to the explosion of small masses of trotol. Such people are capable of destroying adenosine triphosphoric acid, a substance responsible for the contraction of muscle fibers in the cells of small portions of living tissue, and of causing palpitations and other significant phenomena. In the presence of a committee of specialists, I observed one lady who had been placed in a dark, screened room. A wrapper containing clean photographic paper in envelopes, impermeable to light, had been placed around her head. She was asked to mentally project onto this paper various geometrical figures, a square, a rhomboid, a triangle, cross, etc. Later, when the paper was developed, the requested forms were clearly discernible. Another lady in our experiment induced contractions in the muscles of a frog's leg which had been placed in a physiological, I think the word is glutton. I'm having a hard time reading through some of these words are not very clear when they came out. Such contractions are generally induced by the effect of a weak electrical charge. When the leg had ceased to twitch, she announced that it would now be impossible to revive it with any kind of charge. A thorough biochemical analysis revealed that the adenosine triphosphoric acid in the cells had been destroyed. The implications of this should send chills up anyone's spine. The weaponization of something like this is exactly what the Soviets were after. There are accounts of these infamous heart attack guns that could trigger a heart attack in an unsuspecting individual at a distance, but I believe that they went much further in these human tests and were most likely successful in training individuals to directly cause a heart attack in another person with intention from a distance. The experiments with Nina Kulagina demonstrate that potential clearly. In both cases, an intensification in the strength of the biofield and magnetic whorls were observed near the subjects. All this was registered by a special device called a bioplasmograph, which is the device that I mentioned earlier of Sergeyev. This bioplasmograph was allegedly able to measure the voltage coming off of a person's electromagnetic force field. Apparently, when he measured Kulagina's force field while she was performing PK experiments, her field began to pulsate and had focused in the direction of her intent and her gaze. He believed that these pulsations or vibrations acted like magnetic waves and could cause objects to become magnetized. He also believed sunspot activity had an effect on PK. The famous psychic Eileen Garrett, who founded the Parapsychology Foundation of New York in 1951, spoke about spirals of energy leaving bodies of the dead up to 3 days after they died. We have to wonder if what this bioplasmograph was picking up was the same energy, and exactly what this energy is. There are a lot of interchangeable terms for the energy that we know of as life force: chi, prana, the odic force, vril, etc. Be interesting to know exactly what this force was, or what this force is that seems to permeate all living beings, and if this really was what this bioplasmograph was picking up. An individual capable of using his own brain, which incidentally is a liquid crystal in classical form, to create the space tunnel effect, is also capable of causing a magnetic field to whirl, and thus of transmitting kinetic energy to various objects. So this is kind of a simplification of the phenomena discussed in this paper, and that wraps it up really for this short document. If you like these presentations, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment or any questions below, and we'll see you in the next video.